Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is the Tuesday edition of Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show here on the Big Daddy Liberty Show. My name is Sihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty, your host this morning as we unpack the morning news headlines. Now, with that being said, want to find out more about the Big Daddy Liberty channel? Well, find us on our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. There, of course, you can also pledge some financial support towards the show. Yes, you can join a growing number of young South Africans period actually, who are contributing R100 a month towards the show. It's those funds that help us fund the editors and the writers and the like on the show. Now, with that being said, if you like how we begin your news day, how about you join our friends over at the Daily Friend, who come to you Mondays to Thursday live at 1:30 p.m. That's dailyfriend.co.za. Now, with that jibber jabber out the way, let's get straight into the news. Oy vey. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Indeed, I said it yesterday on Vuka Nazo. Have a look over there where we spoke about the domste draw in the world, this Charlize Theron. Nonetheless, with that story out the way, the other story we covered yesterday was what I then said would be the looming violence from the taxi industry, the predictable violence from the taxi industry as they embark in the Western Cape on a 2-day strike because they've basically demanding the reinstallment of the pilot project called the Blue Dot System, or the Blue Dot Program. That was a program by the Western Cape Department of Transport, or the Mobility Department as they call themselves there, to basically incentivize good behavior from taxi drivers by basically tracking their vehicles, tracking driver behavior, and then from that, financially incentivizing good behavior. Now, that system ran its course, of course, because it was a pilot and the money ran out, with national government not coming to the party to fund the continuation of that program. So it's that situation which the taxi operators are unhappy about, demanding, of course, their share of state funding to line their pockets. They want that program to continue, of course, and that's why they've decided to go on a strike. Now, predictably, as I said yesterday, the strike would become violent. I called it before even it started happening, where I said, expect to see some buses up in flame, maybe even some trains. Now, at the time of recording this, I'm not sure if the trains have come under any attack, whether there are any trains in Cape Town that is, but nonetheless, the buses have come under attack. At the time of recording this, 2 Golden Arrow buses and a My City bus in Khayelitsha were torched, destroyed, rendering, of course, those people poor, South Africans, poor Cape Townians who use these services without those alternatives. I want to read from this News 24 piece, which really conveys the chaos of the streets there at the moment as law enforcement is trying to respond, where this piece goes on to describe that the city's safety and security MECO member, that's the one JP Smith, said another Golden Arrow bus was nearly hijacked, with one person being arrested. Can you imagine the sheer panic that would have ensued in that bus? The strike by members of the South African National Taxi Council, or SANTACO, comes after the Western Cape government decided to cancel its Blue Dot Taxi project. As mentioned before, this is an initiative that incentivized and rewarded improved driving and good passenger service by taxi operators. It went live on May the 15th in 2021 with the participation of approximately 800 minibus taxis across the Western Cape. The project will officially be terminated at the end of this month. Now, Golden Arrow spokesperson, one Bronwyn Dyke Bayer, said that one of their buses was torched at around 6 in the morning, end of quote. Now, you can imagine this entire scene is intensely volatile, with law enforcement tracking around the city trying to catch and keep up with these marauding mobs of taxi operators, allegedly, let me say that, just for legal purposes, who are torching these buses. And of course, as I described during the Nyanga, you'll remember, protest, as I described back then, when the Nyanga taxi operators were destroying public infrastructure, buses, and indeed torching police vehicles, the chaos is purposeful. It's designed to elicit fear. It is designed to elicit a sense of we rule by force as the taxi operators. Now, I must say this, not all taxi operators are like this. You guys know on the show that I'm actually a really big fan of the taxi industry insofar as it being a free market created entity, one which actually provides a much necessary service. But here's where we draw the line, and we should draw the line as South Africans: law and order, so that where there is law breaking, let the law play its full role and see these individuals who break it behind bars. All right, I take you now to the courts, indeed in Bloemfontein at the Supreme Court of Appeal, where Jacob Zuma and the Department of Correctional Services, their leave to appeal has been dismissed with costs, ouch, by the Supreme Court. Now, you'll remember those two entities, that is Zuma and the Correctional Department, which then was led by Arthur Fraser, were trying to appeal a Pretoria High Court decision which had basically said they acted unlawfully by granting Jacob Zuma medical parole. You'll remember that shenanigan where Arthur Fraser, who was the head of Correctional Services, despite the Medical Parole Advisory Board having recommended against it, then proceeded, that's Arthur Fraser, to grant Jacob Zuma medical parole a mere 2 months into his 15-month sentence. Remember, of course, the Constitutional Court, the highest court in the land, had sentenced Zuma for contempt of court for 15 months, where he miraculously, after 2 of those months, became ill and, of course, was given medical parole by his buddy, Arthur Fraser. How nice it is to be a politician and have political elite friends who can do things like that for you. Now, I'm going to read from this EWN piece, which really highlighted just how fishy that granting of that medical parole was and how really it was especially effectively for Jacob Zuma. Now, here's the piece basically citing the following. Now, the Correctional Services Department has provided Eyewitness News with figures which show the Medical Parole Advisory Board made 100 recommendations against medical parole during Fraser's term of office. But Zuma's was the only case where Fraser used what he claimed was his discretion to grant medical parole, despite a thumbs down from the board. Now, Fraser's appointment, you remember, as Correctional Services Commissioner itself was mired by controversy. End of quote. Again, almost clear cut here. Fraser, as Zuma's buddy, his mate, his chum, basically, given that he was the Commissioner of Correctional Services, basically granted Zuma, a friend of his, medical parole. Now, this is a serious indictment on the institutions of state, where, as I've always said, politicians corrupt and undermine institutions by policies such as cadre deployment and really a booty system that they have running, where there's I've always said it, there's 2 levels of justice in this country. There's 2 levels, if you will, the real divide, if I can put it that way, in society is between the political elites and politicians and us, the ordinary faith, flag, family, and freedom type individuals who don't have these special privileges that the likes of Jacob Zuma have. It's disgusting, it's immoral, and it's the very thing that if you look towards 2024, you should be voting and making sure that you nip in the bud. Now, I'm going to venture into this topic because, again, I'm someone who really loves animals, and this debate is becoming one which is, I must say, it's being manufactured largely by the media, but also rightly so, because it is something which is proving to be quite an issue. That's the story, of course, about pitbulls, the breed, a rather aggressive breed of dog that is very popular, of course, for various reasons, some illegal, such as illegal, dog fighting, but nonetheless, popular breed of dog, beautiful animals, but yes, very aggressive. Where, as I said, in the media lately, the stories of this breed of dog having attacked children, killed, mauled children in many cases, and of course injured many children is becoming something which is defining social media debate at the moment, which calls and growing calls for the breed to be banned in the country. Now, the latest controversy surrounding pit bulls takes us to Cape Town, where, on Sunday, residents in Gatesville That's just outside of Cape Town, publicly killed and set alight three pit bulls that had previously attacked a young girl in that community. And I must say this, had viciously attacked this young girl. The young girl did survive, but was being treated for very serious injuries in hospitals. That same community, angry, of course, at this incident, then proceeded to chase after these dogs and kill them. I want to read this independent piece, which really gives insight into this, where, as I said, these three dogs were chased, stoned to death, and set alight. Now, according to the Cape of Good Hope Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, that's the SPCA in short, this was the second incident it was alerted to at the weekend. Chief Inspector one Yaku Peterse confirmed a young girl was attacked in Gatesville Field and sustained severe injuries. He said the girl was rushed to a nearby hospital for treatment, and of course he's quoted as saying the community took matters into their own hands and attacked the dogs, stoning, stabbing and hitting the animals with various objects before burning them to death. Now, SPCA, Inspector Jeffrey Mfini, who rushed to the scene after the SPCA received the report, found the dogs still burning. Mfini, of course, extinguished the fire, but all the animals had succumbed to their injuries, end of quote. Now, I think it's important for us to jump into this debate because, again, there's two sides here. There, as I said, there are the growing voices for the ban, the total ban of this species or this type of animal or type of dog, in the country. And of course, there's the other side where there's not only the owners, but associations of pit bull owners in the country. And of course, even the SPCA, who are against the ban on this particular animal. And I think, there's merits to both arguments. And maybe, just maybe, as something we'll look to do here on the show, is to facilitate that debate live, perhaps on the Big Daddy Liberty Show or Liberty and Friends in particular, so that both sides can air it out and you can make a decision as to what should happen. All right, that's it for this episode of Vuka Nazo. This is the Tuesday edition of the show. Let me know what you think of the show. You can do that, of course, by finding us at our website. That's bigdaddyliberty.com. And of course, if you're watching this broadcast on YouTube or Facebook, hit the like button, please. I really, really encourage you to hit that like button. And indeed, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Help me reach 40,000 subscribers by the end of the year. With that being said, thank you for watching. See you tomorrow for another episode of Vuka Nazo.